All right, welcome back to the Ode to OneNote series. I'm very excited to bring a different kind of conversation to the table. Rima saw my Ode to OneNote series and we were talking about it. And she's like, I made money on OneNote when I was in college. And I went, oh my God. This needs to be if anything needs to be an ode to OneNote, that is. So I'm very excited to have with me a very good friend, my partner in crime on the M365 government community call, and very intelligent Microsoft employee on the Microsoft team side, Rima Reyes. Rima, welcome to my Not podcast.
Thank you. No, thank you for having me. I'm excited. And I do love OneNote. So.
Okay, so let's just jump right in.
Okay.
Well, first of all, what did I miss on my introduction? How would you like to? Okay.
No, perfect. It was great. You're awesome.
Okay.
Everything you do is amazing, so we're good.
Oh, stop. Okay, so jump right in. Talk me through when you said that, like, you meant it. You actually made money with OneNote. So what was what's the story?
Okay, so I'll start from the very beginning. So I went to Penn State University, and I went to Penn State from 2001 to 2005, and I was an avid note taker.
I'm older than you.
Barely, not even. I feel mentally like I'm 22, so it's fine. Physically is another story. But yeah, so I went to college 2001 2005, so you can kind of think about time frame and technology back then. I would take notes like ferociously. So my hands would like literally cramp because I was trying to capture. And that was just a way for me to like kind of absorb and also internalize. I was a psychology major, and you have to like encode what somebody's saying to you internally. And so a method of encoding is, if somebody speaks to you, take notes, because that's something active that you're doing to kind of remember that information. So notes were very important to me. And I was a double major in psychology and in industrial organizational psychology and labor studies.
Okay.
So, and I'm self-taught, like in tech and all that. But, I was always like fascinated about how like, people kind of work and how they think, especially in the business world. So my senior year, before I kind of start my senior year, I asked my parents, I'm like, listen, I would love a laptop that I can carry around in class. Now, at that time, nobody was bringing laptops to class.
Right.
Which was, everyone's like, Rima, you're like the nerd in the class. And I had very large classes at Penn State. Like Penn State at the time was 42,000 undergrad.
Yep.
So I had a class that was like 750 people.
That's insane.
It was like legit insane. Yeah. So like, I mean, some classes were smaller, some classes were really large. So it just depended, on the class and popularity, obviously. So anyway, I got a comfortable backpack, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to bring my laptop to class. That's what I want to do.
Okay.
And then I realized, I was like, you know what, I don't have like Microsoft software, and I don't have like enough, the right kind of software. So I remember we had just built at Penn State this like IT like area of the campus. This is where everybody who did the IT major like kind of lived. And I was like always jealous of these people. I'm like, oh, I wish I had time to like switch majors because I would have done IT.
Mm-hmm.
It was a beautiful modern building, and they had.
What's a third major? I mean, come on.
I was like, I gotta finish. My parents were paying for my college, which was phenomenal, amazing, but I felt so guilty. It was like, I have to hurry. So I went to like the store. We had like an IT store where you could buy like, with student discounts, you could buy like a mouse or like a keyboard or whatever. And I will never forget this. This is ingrained in my memory. I looked up, and on the corner of the wall, there was a purple CD that was kind of standing upright on top of the box. And I asked the guy, I was like, oh, what is that? Like, can you show me that? And he's like, oh, it's OneNote. And I was like, huh. He was like, yeah, it's really cool. Like, you can take notes. And I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I need. So I remember at the time it was about $60 for the CD. I know. And I was like, with the student discount, I think I was like, forget it, I'm going to buy it. And I installed it on my computer. And then I started using OneNote to take notes. Now, I remember at the time, what was revolutionary for me is that I didn't have to save. I had a lot of freedom around bulleting, which is what I needed, because sometimes the way professors talk is like all over the place.
Yes.
And you kind of need to kind of like take notes however you can and then like reorganize them later, which is usually what I would do. So I would take notes in the class, like my detailed bulleting system, and then I would go home, and to study, I would then like relook at my notes, reorganize them, reword them, and it kind of really like it was like almost like a third way I was like setting them into my brain. So I started bringing my laptop to every single class, and people were always like pointing at me like, "Oh my God, you're so nerdy." I was like, "I am me. I don't care, whatever." Um, so there was a business that was just outside of campus called Nittany Notes. And Nittany Notes essentially paid students to take notes for those students who maybe were sick or had a little too much fun partying the evening before.
Yes. For
And
non-nefarious reasons only.
Right, exactly, innocence only. And and they and essentially, so a student would take notes in the class and would go to the Nittany Notes like little like office, and they would take their thumb drive and like plug it into their computer and like download the notes, and then Nittany Notes would resell those notes to any student who maybe had missed class, right? So I was like, you know what? I have a laptop and I'm taking some bomb diggity notes. Like why didn't I make some money from Nittany Notes? So I went over there. They're like, oh, yeah, these are great notes, because they kind of take a look at your notes. And they're like, yeah, we really need a note taker for these 3 classes. I was like, sweet. And I got something like $8 a class.
Okay. Like per class, not for the semester.
Per class. Yeah,
That's awesome.
per class. Like, so if I had a class that was 3 days a week, $8 a day, it was amazing. And that's for each class. So I was making like, good food money, right? Not anything, again, nefarious. And so, yeah, that's what I started using OneNote to do.
That's awesome.
The other thing that OneNote helped me do was meet my best friend. So my best friend, she lives in Chicago, but we've been obviously best friends, BFFs, best friends forever, since college.
Yeah.
And I was in a labor studies course that was very writing intensive. And we had a professor who was older. It was his last year of teaching. He was getting ready to retire. He was all about the chalkboard.
Yep.
And this man was like phenomenal at using the entire chalkboard. So I was taking notes, and I was, again, the only girl in class like using a laptop. And we had just actually, and not every part of the campus had Wi-Fi either, which was also like super important. So that's why like having even disconnected services was important. So anyway, I was taking this class, the semester starts, and then a week later, a new student comes in and she says, "Oh, I was sick. I had the flu the entire first week." And she was like, "Is there any way I could like get some of these notes?" So the professor points at me and says, "Hey, that girl seems to be typing a lot, and she has a laptop. I think she probably has notes. Go talk to her."
Okay.
So even though I was like the official Nittany note taker, Jane came up to me and she said, "Oh, like, do you have notes? I'm happy, but buy them off of you." I was like, "I'm not going to sell you notes. Like, that's stupid. Like, don't worry about it." I was like,
"I'm not going to sell you notes when they pay me to take them."
Right. Like, I was like, no, I was like, of course not. And I told her, I was like, "You've only missed a week. Don't worry about it." So I emailed her, like when I got back to my room, I emailed her all the notes, and she was so appreciative of it. I was like, "Honey, like I was already doing this for myself anyways. Don't even worry about it." So she ended up taking me to Applebee's for dinner, like after, and we've been best friends ever since. And so like,
That's
she's
amazing.
like my sister from another mother. So OneNote essentially helped me get money in college and also meet my best friend. So I have a lot of love and deep respect for OneNote.
That's first of all, that's fantastic. Like that story in general. There's so many things about that story. One, the friendship. Like who would ever thought the ode to OneNote would be a guide to making a new friend? The business thing just boggles my mind. And by the way, for those of you listening, I did check with my wife, who is an English professor in the college level, and she confirmed that if you are sharing notes, that is not what do they call it? The word cheating comes to mind. That's not the one I'm looking for, but when you copy stuff. Anyway, that's not what that is. It's just notes, huh?
Copyright infringement or something?
No, they have a word for student dishonesty to like copying homework and copying stuff like that. You're not submitting that person's work as your work, so it's okay. So we're good. Yeah. But okay, so you used OneNote for all your note taking in like 5 minutes or less. Like, how did you organize your OneNote? Because you have section groups and then sections, and then you have the pages in the sections. Like, how did you organize it?
That's a good question. From what I remember, and I used to have like a system of like I would have a folder where I would also print out my notes. So because again, like at the
Because
end
we
of the
didn't trust computers back then.
no, well, part of me again, like I'm encoding it again in my brain a fourth time because I would highlight certain things that I knew before studying for an exam.
Right.
So and sometimes being around a computer would be a little distracting because then I'd be like, oh, like let me chat with people. So I would go to like this the student hub, I print out everything from OneNote, which made perfect sense, and I'll put them in little folders. But from what I remember, how I would organize it is obviously I would organize it by class.
Okay.
And then we would have the tabs up top, right? Like the old school OneNote, and then that would just be the class, name or whatever, and just the notes
Okay.
on the side. I kept it very simple because I wanted to visually see like everything, like having to tab across like, multiple classes sometimes could be a little much, and I wanted to just focus on that individual class. The other thing that was really helpful for me in terms of note taking was the search function. So
Yeah.
searching through content was phenomenal. And then also in math courses, like being able to like, you know, include like math equations, like even at that time was phenomenal. And so my OneNote was essentially designed with like the college rule line, just to be like, oh, typing in a notebook.
Yep.
But yeah, and then that's from what I remember, that's how I would organize it. So I think I would have the classes on the left and then the individual note tabs up top.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very similar. I like to organize my stuff. So I have the tabs across. I still use the old school layout because there's the new Windows app and then there's the desktop version. Trust me on this one, use the desktop version. But I still use the tabs across for major subjects. And then what I like about the pages is you can nest the pages. Most people don't know that. They create one
Yes.
page and then they just keep creating them, but you can drag and drop them to nest them up to 3 levels. And I find that to be so. At work, for example, every account gets a tab or
Yeah.
a section, and
Yeah.
then within that, we have one page for the account synopsis, one page for every opportunity, and then
Oh,
the meeting notes are children underneath the opportunity page, so
oh,
that we
that's
can
kind of cool.
organize. Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah,
well,
I know
Rima,
the templates are a big thing too. Sorry.
no,
So I was
so templates are huge. I got to do
I
a post
forgot.
on templates.
Yeah.
We use templates for note taking because we use a program for our sales team based on something called force management.
Okay.
And we have created templates for our salespeople and showed them how to, unfortunately, you have to install the template locally, but we've shown them how to download and install the template. And then they have a new meeting, make a new from the template, and boom, you're
Yeah.
good to go. So, Rima, thank you for joining me and telling your ode to OneNote story.
Thank you for having me, Jay. Appreciate it. Have a great one.
You too. Take care. We know you liked this episode because you're still listening. So if you want to hear more like this, make sure you click the subscribe button, notifications, and go to onthespot.tech for more from our sibling podcasts.